Hello, I'm Dexter Wallace. I'm the CEO and Managing Consultant of Valma International, a consultancy based in Mumbai. We specialize in the area of coaching, training in the area of soft skills and behavioral sciences, notably emotional intelligence. And recently, I decided to fulfill a 17-year promise to my mother, my late mother, to write a book. And 32 years of my work experience across life went into 6 books which I have written and published during the lockdown between May 2020 and July 2020. Most of these books are from elements of my life which I have labored with in terms of putting it into perspective across the various things I did. Somehow or the other, I didn't really know how to put them down into a book. And that's why it took me 17 years to figure out my way to my first book. And after that, it didn't stop. My first book is The Butterfly Blueprint, which you see here behind me. And while all of them are very close to my heart, there is one which is truly precious. In fact, it is flawed yet precious. And this is book number 5. And I want to read to you some excerpts from this book today so that you can get some insight to this book and perhaps decide to buy it, read it, digest it, and make it part of your life. So, Flawed Yet Precious came from a greeting I sent out on New Year, for the New Year, some years ago. And it caught my imagination as a book title. Flawed Yet Precious is because we are all jewels and we obsess with the flaws in our jewelry. And therefore, we need to understand that those flaws actually make us precious. So this book is about that. This book is divided into 3 parts, where in part 1 we talk about a fabulously flawed life, the crowning the flaw in the jewel, which talks about 6 seesaws of life, which are focus versus flow, labor versus love, action versus activate, want versus wish, experience versus experiment, do versus deliver. And there's a special read here that is Heal What's Hurting, an ode to loneliness. In fact, this book is interspersed by quite a few of the poems I have written. So when you do buy this book, you'll get to read them, and I hope you like them. Part 2 is about sparkling life tales, bringing the preciousness to the flawed, which acts as a bridge to part 3, which is practices for a precious life, which talks about personal purpose, road rules, the road of life, engaging emotional energy, change life colors, the IOU versus IO me, and sparkle, which is all about inspire, influence, and ignite. In the summary, we talk about accept, acknowledge, forgive, and shine. And I hope to read that summary to you too. So here goes. This is the introduction to the book. As time flows by, we often look back at all the years gone by and strive to understand what life has taught us. What can we do better? What would really need to be new in the coming year? What needs to change? I feel it's more about incremental steps of self-revelation, peeling off the onion rings, increasing vulnerability in the place of numbness. I realize that as long as we find our way to live with integrity, strip the deceit and strive for authenticity in our lives, be mindful of our behavior as we relate to others, and develop deeper consciousness of who we are in each moment, we can evolve to be the person in every essence we truly are and meant to be. We can then relate to others in ways that release them to be and live the luminous lives they are too. While this may seem complex in the way we practice living, tiptoeing around our realities, adding layers of interpretations to what's in plain sight, in truth, the simpler we make our everyday explanations, the easier they are to access and engage across the experiences we create for ourselves and others. And here's the shocker. We can guarantee mistakes. But you see, that's how we are too. Flawed, yet precious. Flawed in our humanness, precious in the divinity of our dreams and aspirations nurtured within. So I wish you a flawed yet precious life, one which will endure, shape and mold, challenge, craft, and create the future you shall soon step up to. Happy living. And then begins part 1, which starts with an ode to a flawed life. And I'd like to read this to you. It's titled very simply, I am. I am the morning star, the rising sun, the midnight moon, the vast expanse of space, the infinite canvas of time. I am the past, the present, the future. The stars reside in me and I in them. I am the prophet, the heathen and the pagan, the silent prayer and loud profanity. I am the ocean, the mountains and the sky, the elements of nature and humanity. I am the body, the mind, the soul, the mortal and the immortal, the moral and the wicked. I am the law and the lawless, order and chaos, the magic and the madness, the moment and eternity. I am the darkness and the light, and in between twilight, the balance and the imbalance, the more and the less. I am everything and nothing, and in between something, the joy and sorrow, the laughter and tears. I am grace and power, selfish and selfless, the exalted and reviled, the revelation and the disguised. I am the shining knight and the lowly knave, the wise, the fool, the coward and the brave. I am, who wasn't and who shall be, the experiment and the trial, the tested and the unknown. I am the Lord, the servant and the slave, the vineyard and the grape, the plough and the soil, leisure and the toil. I am, who wasn't and who shall ever be. I have dedicated this to the named and the nameless, the extraordinary and the ordinary, which is each one of us. And so, as we go through this book, you will find many little precious jewels, flawed as they may be, but ones that will touch your heart. And especially in part 3, when we talk of practices for a precious life, you will find that we also begin this with a little bit of a poem which is called In Celebration of the Search for an Enchanted Life. I will leave you to read that, because I want to read to you the ending of this book so that you are left with that sparkle in your mind's eye. The summary, which is accept, acknowledge, forgive and shine. I am sure that having read this book, you will agree with these concluding thoughts and takeaways. I find them particularly important to remember as you launch yourself back into life. Accept. We need to accept our flaws as part of who we are. We need to accept the flaws in others as part of who they are. And we are precious people because of our flaws. Acknowledge. We need to acknowledge what makes us precious. We need to acknowledge what makes others precious. We need to look into the light of our sparkling selves and see the preciousness inside each one of us. That's where we connect magically with ourselves and with each other. Forgive. We need to forgive the flaws in us. When we look at blaming our failures or lack of success on something, because when we are our flaws, we end up blaming ourselves. Identifying with our flaws is not a mistake or an inconvenient identification of ourselves. We are both the bright and dark parts of ourselves. Together we are whole, flawed yet precious. We need to forgive the flaws in others too. They are their flaws and are their sparkles too. They too are precious. Shine. We need to raise our preciousness to shine. We need to help others raise their preciousness to shine too. We can be obsessed with what's going wrong and strive to correct it in ourselves and others, little realizing that it is part of the shade from the bright light we shine. Let's raise our consciousness to shine life's spotlight on what's precious, and we shall see more clearly what lies in the shadows. The light and shadow of life is part of the canvas we paint. The snapshots we take often seek the light, though the artistry of our masterpiece is judged by the interplay of light and shadow. It is artistically called chiaroscuro. The brightness of power and success intermingles with the dark shadows of challenges and failures on the canvas of life. What is seen and what is unseen? What do you see? The flaw or the preciousness? Human beings are more precious than precious stones. We are precious lives with battle scars, which we also call flaws. Our flaws bear the scars of all the wars we fight to survive, to thrive, to shine. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me. I hope I've been able to encourage you to buy and read the book. Thank you again, and see you soon when I read from another one of those books behind me. So, till then, bye-bye.